Hello, folks. This is Mr. Green, and you are listening to the NXT TakeOver review. More specifically, you're listening to the review of the Charlotte Natalya match that took place that night at NXT TakeOver. First off, if you had not seen NXT TakeOver at this point, this is, I wouldn't say it's spoilers because I'm not going through the entire thing. And I think by this time, it's kind of like the movies. Given a couple of weeks, you should already know the results and who won and who lost. But I will say that if you haven't watched it, you should. It was a very good show. Very, very good show. In fact, it's probably one of the most enjoyable WWE products that I have seen on the network since I have ordered the network. And that includes pay-per-views. I actually think I enjoyed that a little bit more than not WrestleMania, but some of the subsequent pay-per-views following that. In any case, Charlotte versus Natalya. Now, on this YouTube channel, I generally tend to stick to independent workers. Anybody that's come on here has noticed that I am a great fan of the ladies on the independent scene. That being some of the ladies like the Great Cheyenne, Jessica Havoc, Casey Carlisle, Jessie Belle Smothers, Mickey Knuckles, Isabel, whichever one that you choose to call her, Pandora, Nina Monet, and Darcy Dixon, and others. There's far too many to name right now. And the reason that I am always so high on those women opposed to, say, the WWE Divas roster is because they always seem to provide a stronger match, and by and large you get a longer match out of any given independent worker than you will ever see in the WWE, although they've been better lately. That being said, NXT TakeOver was almost completely the polar opposite of anything that they actually do on Raw or SmackDown. This match was quite lengthy and well worked out, and even though they provided, I guess, some sort of backstory, they tried to give you that it's the Harts versus the Flairs, and this feud goes back to 1992 when Bret Hart took the title off of Ric Flair, and so on and so forth. They gave you a little bit of that. Even though that was the case, it felt far more like a MMA build-up than it did a pro wrestling build-up. Let me explain that. If you have watched, say, Bellator, or if you've watched UFC, you can see that they try to give you some backstory, but they don't make it overly campy. They don't provide any comedy skits or have them talking to each other backstage, microphone to microphone with the person standing there as they trade shots back and forth. This was simply, the beginning of it at least, was simply a set of promos done individually that they cut together with some footage overlaying it, and how they got there, what it means to them to be the champion. And so it's a hard term to say it felt real in today's wrestling environment, but that, for lack of a better term, I'm going to say that it felt far more real than anything that we typically see on Monday nights and Friday nights. The match itself was, in my eyes, a thing of beauty. I really was not aware that Charlotte could be that good, or maybe it's because Natalya is a very good competitor and made Charlotte look excellent. But they put on a really good match, and it would be extremely disappointing to see that match get overlooked out of the WWE as, just kind of a throwaway. It would be disappointing if it doesn't get any sort of recognition, say, come around the Slammies. Because that's the only real award that they offer for Match of the Year or something like that. But it should at least be in the running. It should at least be in the running for Match of the Year. That's how highly I think of this match. The length and the time that they were able to put into it. Just on the time alone, on the average Divas match that you see on Monday Night Raw, you could probably have fit 5 or 6 Divas matches in the time that they took to do this one. The NXT title, of course, Spoiler, if you haven't heard by now, you should have heard, especially if you listen to this, Charlotte did win. She became the second NXT Women's Champion in the history of the promotion. I really didn't go into this thinking Natalya was going to win it, but I will say that she took me out of my, I guess, logistics for a moment, and she made me believe that she was going to win that title at least once or twice in there. She literally made me forget and get swept up in the moment of the match. And that's pretty much what we're all looking for when we go to a wrestling match. We know that this thing is a work, especially these days when they pull back the curtain so much that you really have no choice but to know that it's a work. But much like when you pay that ticket and go to the theaters, we want to know and we want to have that suspension of disbelief, and I thought they did a phenomenal job of giving the suspension of disbelief. They worked really hard enough to the point that I would say that having a Bret Hart and a Ric Flair at ringside was almost unnecessary. Ric Flair did a really good job as the managerial role. Of course, he's Ric Flair. He was very animated and did what he had to do to kind of stress the point that he wanted to see his daughter win. I didn't expect that out of Bret Hart. Bret Hart has never been an overly animated guy, but of course, him having suffered a stroke, it's only so much that you were going to get out of him at this point. So I could go back to saying, despite the fact that I loved what Ric Flair did on the outside, I really don't think that they were overly important. They didn't intervene all that much. And, it needs to be said that these girls were hard hitting too. They took some bumps in there that it wasn't anything outrageous, but you could hear the slams on the mat and all that stuff. It just, you knew that they were putting their all on the line, and they were really pushing to get that crowd, and they did. They got the Full Sail crowd into it. They got me into it, and as far as a lot of the people that have talked about it, either online or people that I've talked to in person, and I haven't heard a single negative review of this match thus far. I hope that it is a sign of matches to come, and I will certainly stay tuned to NXT's women's division going forward to see how Charlotte will continue on as the reigning champion, and who knows, perhaps we will get a Charlotte versus Natalya match part 2. If they do, it can only be they'd have to up the ante, and it's got to be great, because the first one, they set the bar so high. I would love to see a second one come along. But that's it, folks. If you haven't seen it, you should go out of your way to see it. You should go onto the WWE Network, pull up NXT TakeOver, and I believe it's about halfway into the show where you can find their matchup and take the time out to see. What is it? It's about in a 2-hour show. Yeah, it's about an hour in. It's about an hour into the show, so you should go ahead and check that out. If you do not have the WWE Network, there has been someone that uploaded a strong portion of that match on Daily Motion, and it's about 22 minutes worth of footage that they were able to get on. But get this, even with the 22 minutes that they have, it's not the full match. They were unable to get the full match in with the 22 minutes that they uploaded. It actually cuts off before the match concludes. Even though you know what it is, it kind of sucks to be watching the thing and it just shut off and it, goes to something else. So, but those are the two options. By the time I do this, somebody else may have uploaded it, although I doubt it'll ever be on YouTube, because WWE is pretty strong about making sure that they keep their content original and unpirated. But you should check it out. Very good match, and if there was any match that exists out in the world to try to convince somebody that women wrestlers are capable inside of the ring and they can deliver bell to bell, it certainly is this one. So I would say look for it. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and if you like this channel, you like the videos that are going up, if you like me going out and recording the independent matches for some of the ladies that I can find in and out of town for me, Please subscribe to the channel and like it. And that support helps me know that I can keep going, and I can certainly convince other people to help work with me, fund me, and keep the channel progressing along. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you later.